Community Economic Development Committee meeting for Monday, September 9th. This meeting will be held in person. It can be viewed on local cable channel 1303 or on the internet by accessing bucksportmaine.gov and selecting Agenda and Minutes and choosing this meeting and clicking on the video button next to the meeting. Questions or comments may be submitted prior to or during the meeting by emailing rich.rotella@bucksportmaine.gov or during the meeting by calling 307-8030. Roll call.
Mark Eastman.
Here.
Steve Bishop is not here. Paul Goggin.
Here.
Josh Tripp.
Here.
John Paul One.
Here.
Ron Russell is not here. Larry Wall.
Here.
Dick Peterson.
Here.
And Joe Devonzo is not here. All three of them did contact me in advance.
Okay. Second item is to approve August 2024 minutes. Any input?
Make a motion to approve the August 2024 minutes.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Review Bacchus request for funding 9/11/2024 comedian. Rich?
So Bacchus filled out the application that the committee agreed upon at the last meeting, and they provided you with the budget for the event. If you remember, they originally asked the committee for $6,000, but after they were able to have the time to create the budget, they lowered their request down to $3,000.
Do we need to take an action on this one?
I
think that's
approving it, so.
Okay. Do we need to rescind the former?
No.
Well, you didn't make, so again, what happened is I misunderstood. So this committee technically is the committee that makes the, accepts or declines.
Okay.
This does not go to the council, so this committee would need to.
Motion to approve. Second.
Comments?
Is that what you needed, Rich?
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Comments from anyone? No?
She has a blank in there for the AV support, but that's well inside the budget. So I was for the
Okay.
tech support.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, passed for Rich. Discussion of items not on the agenda for committee and public. We can start with the public. Steve?
Nothing.
Okay. Committee?
Yeah, got a couple items.
Okay.
One is details of the International Maritime Film Festival, which is September 26th, 27th, 28th. 26th, Thursday night, is a feature film at 7 o'clock. It's Forever Lost, I think, or something like that. It's a Robert Redford movie about a sailboat that was struck by a cargo ship, and the rescue of that and whatnot.
Okay.
Friday night, 7 o'clock, is the Oystermen concert, which was a huge success last year. And I forget, there's an opening act, a seafarer gal at WRU is arranging all the details of that. And then Saturday, 2:30 to 4:30 and 7 to 9, the showing of the winners of the jury films for the festival. Admission for all of those is $10 per session. So if you go to both sessions on Saturdays, $20. If you the movie Thursday night, it's $10. The concert's a $10 suggested donation. Be consistent with what Paula does on Wednesday at Maine.
Okay. Anyone else?
And then the second item I had, this kind of just came up today, started yesterday and was developing today. someone sent an email to David Wise at Northeast Historic Film about a film, potentially showing a film. It's called In the Whale. And so happens that I'm very familiar with that whole story and documentary. It's a true story of a lobsterman in Provincetown that was swallowed by a whale. Well, not swallowed, it was a baleen whale, so he didn't swallow, but got in the mouth of a whale. And I saw the movie last year in Stonington. And they're kind of marketing that. And so they asked if it could be part of the film festival. It's kind of too late for that to happen, but we may bring it here on an off night in October. And the directors offered to come, and I happen to know the father of the captain of the boat, who's a world-renowned whale expert in Provincetown, and possibility he would come up. He's in the film, so could be kind of a really neat night. And this just came up, so it's going to be a little more expensive than the normal film that would show at the Alamo. So I'll fill out one of these. I'm working with Paul on this. It'll kind of be under the auspice of Wednesday on Main, but
Yep.
asking for some money, and I was the one who requested that you have a 2-month notice. So I'm not sure that we're gonna meet the timing of it would be right, but I'll still fill it out and we'll see what happens.
Okay.
Won't be a lot of money, but it might be a nice thing to, I think it would be a neat opportunity for this to show at the Alamo, and,
Yep.
you know, especially if we can get those people here to do a panel discussion after the film. I think it'd be pretty darn neat.
Anyone else? Rich, do you have?
Well, that brings up the 60-day thing, because the town council did not approve Ghostport until after the 60-day mark. Today would have been 58 days from the event, so I told her, I'm sorry, we can't. So, because it should have been August 20th, because they were looking for $650 for a magician. So, if the committee thinks 30 days or 1 month, sometimes these things pop up, and when it's not the organization's fault, because they don't want to market it in case the council says no, but we've also just changed it twice since we've done this, so I leave that up to the committee.
It's kind of like a work in progress, right? You've never had it, and now it's something new, right? So you always have bugs to work out. With all policies, you always have I use policies at work, and I don't know, you probably have them at yours, but we have policies that at work that I always say, or at the discretion of the chief, right? So that means, yes, we have this policy, but it can be broken at the discretion of the chief. Or, you know what I mean? So you could have, yes, we have this policy, but, you could put at the discretion of the committee. You could put it at the discretion of the council, right? They are the elected body.
Right.
Where they could overrule the committee in that aspect. For those monies, you always want to have a fail safe, because you do have those. I think that's a great idea, right? And you always have those spur of the moment things come up, and you never know when they could be. Having time frames sometimes handcuffs you, and it doesn't allow the town to do something that could be great, right? And people could go enjoy. So I think you have to put a fail-safe in somewhere, whether it's approval of the council or approval of the committee, either or or you shrink it to 30 days. Even having a day, anytime you have a number, okay, you're handcuffing.
No.
So I think if you're gonna have a number, you wanna have a fail-safe that can be overruled. Whether it's by the committee or whether it's by the council.
Well, it'd be hard
My
if it was the
opinion.
committee, I mean, if it was the council, cause if the committee can approve it, would it then have to go back to it?
The council has nothing to do, the council authorized $20,000 for the department, and the
I've got
department,
But the committee only goes once a month.
right,
You would have to have like if you're gonna say, all right, by the, discretion of the committee, you might have to have an emergency meeting. Which is fine. Just as long as everyone knows, hey, we might have to call a impromptu extra meeting this month because something might come up. I mean, I'm not saying it has to be the council. It could be just the committee, because the committee's the only one that approves this. It doesn't have to go through. But just putting in if the committee can overrule that, you gotta have a fail-safe in there.
I'm not opposed, but,
I agree with you. Thought just comes to my mind, and we're talking about the 20,000, right?
That's
Only-
correct.
Only the 20,000.
that's correct.
So we could maybe potentially say, Rich, with the support of the town manager, Susan, could have authorization for anything under $1,000.
You could do it that way too.
Make it.
expedite it.
Well,
Yeah,
I'm just
to
saying,
expedite it. Yeah.
I'm not opposed to any of them.
So I'm thinking if that's something that you think is valuable or something that can work. Again, I'm trying to work there and
I actually like that aspect too, and the aspect because you guys are here all the time,
Right.
and you could put
except Fridays.
yeah, I know, I voted for that. I still kick myself in the ass because it's the only day a week I have off. I'm like, why did I vote on that? But I remember.
Didn't
I
mean to
remember
divert
that.
the conversation
Well,
like that.
But I like that idea.
So, like I said earlier, I was the one who suggested that we have some kind of time period in there. And where I was coming from was, I guess I was kind of thinking old school, that this used to be groups came in, whatever, it was April. They had to submit something by April. And so you had to really be thinking forward. And they took that away, and they, for good reasons, and put it in this group. And so I thought, well, it ought to be somewhere in between. But as I see these things developing, if the real intent is that the town wants to have $20,000 that groups can access, we shouldn't hand tie 'em. And
So take the
So-
whole thing out, you think, maybe take the whole thing out in the entirety?
I would be fine with that.
There's no handcuff on our end if there is no time limit, our end meaning upstairs processing a check.
Yep.
The only handcuff would be whether or not we could get it to this committee in time, knowing everyone's schedules and everything. So I agree, because losing out on an opportunity for In the Whale or even something as part of Gosport, it kind of hurts.
So,
Sure, enough for no.
so what's the date of Gosport?
October 20th.
All right, so they still would have the opportunity to present it at the next meeting,
Yes. Yep.
the October meeting.
Yes.
But can they confirm the petition if they don't have the confirmation from us?
This is different.
They could get it in front of the 12th meeting.
Well, and
Not on the
it's
agenda.
under $1,000 too, so it's $650 is the cost of the
Okay.
petition. So when I talked to her about a budget, she's like, "Well, there is no budget."
Well, there's a musician involved with this, with the, with Gosport. So we're talking two magicians here?
No,
Or
the
one-
magician, the magician
one's
is
a-
part of
one's a
Gosport.
comedian, that's
Yes,
right.
That's right.
That's
Yeah. So yeah, we could do something up. Looking at the calendar, October was going to be a tough month for a meeting because of holiday.
Oh, Columbus.
Yeah. Indigenous Peoples' Day.
Right. It's not Columbus Day anymore.
Well, the magician and the whale, those are opportunities that the magician can have them at any time, right? But in the whale, maybe once in a lifetime or once maybe
In a whale's
back in
time?
3 years, right? And once in a whale's time, right? So I'd hate to see the town miss out on that where there's money sitting there. It's not something that's gonna drain the pot and it's beneficial to the entire community, so.
I'm not a huge numbers guy, deadline guy. I never have been. I think it handcuffs you. I think you have committees like this to make those decisions. I think you all, I mean, I'm part of it now, but I think this committee is made to make those decisions. Yeah, make hard ones, say no every once in a while. And I think in times, and from being on the council, there were times where we just couldn't say no, right? And that was our problem for years. And I was one of those. I couldn't say no. Someone came and asked. I had a hard time saying no, right?
Sure.
And in the times we are now, every once in a while we have to say no, because sometimes people their asks were a little maybe extravagant, you know. But like with this one, I think it was a great idea. Maybe 6,000, but boy, they got it down to 3, right? Some hard questions were asked, right?
Yep.
But they got it. That's a manageable number. Still left 17,000 in the pot, and I think it's going to bring a great thing up to Bacchus, and hopefully bring more.
So we're still.
I don't like a 60 day.
I'm fine with rescinding that, because the reality is if we're gonna require them to come to the committee, there's still a timing thing there.
There is at least a 30 day,
30
right?
day.
Yeah.
Right.
There's at least a 30 day.
Yeah.
Because we only meet once a month,
Yeah.
right?
So I guess, that puts some responsibility on the applicant,
Mhm.
but doesn't tie their hands.
I would suggest eliminating the time frame.
Are you making a motion to make it?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any other comments? All those in favor, moving the requirement? Opposed? Passes. All right.
On call.
I didn't say that was it.
I do wanna follow up with a question though.
Yes.
That is, there's still time for Ghostport because of what we just did.
Mm-hmm.
But in the future, have you ever found yourself with, like a week or so, somebody comes in, they're doing a program, project, whatever, and we need 500 to do X, Y, Z.
I take it out of my marketing money.
Never mind. Done.
Got some other ways.
I got that. I'm done.
Okay.
There's a pocket everywhere.
I'm done. Thank you.
If it makes sense to the town and there's no chance to get it here or the council and
Yep.
can visualize that brings something, then I take it out of marketing.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you all for that. I think I understood where the intent was, and I'm glad that everyone's had a chance to realize that the intent wasn't to penalize anyone, and now we're realizing, such a great opportunity for, and the whale comes up, and now it's like, oh, any chance the time frame, maybe in October, when they plan to do that?
It's kind of in our court, so
Not the 9th.
I don't, there's a medical emergency that came up with one of the parties, so I'm probably not gonna get an answer out of them for a little bit of time here.
Fair enough.
Does your marketing, ever get strapped for cash?
That markets the whole town from July 1st to June 30th. And if you haven't seen, I did a special on WABI through the Discover Maine. That actually didn't cost the town anything because we partnered with the Friends of Fort Knox again for the Two Lefts Make a Right commercial. So they gave that to the town as a courtesy. I feel awful that I left International Maritime Film Festival off that. It hasn't been on my radar, and I apologize. What I did, if you haven't seen it, was I highlighted the events that were coming up, so Ghostport, Shop Local, and the Holiday Lights Parade. I even missed the comedian. So for that, I apologize. I had a quick 1-minute blurb, and those 3 things were on my radar, and the other 2 slipped through.
There's a lot of responsibility that can be shared on that, and don't take it all on your shoulders.
But can you foresee not having enough money in your marketing budget to cope with the something that came up that was beneficial to the town, like we're talking?
There are ones-offs and two-offs, Larry. I don't think so, because I managed that one pretty closely. The partnership with the Friends of Fort Knox really helps because it knocks that cost down.
What I'm getting at is, would it be beneficial to enact what you were talking about, allowing you to approve something under $1,000? Needed be? You were the town
It couldn't
manager.
hurt, and then I can share the information with the committee, and if the committee says, hey, you know what, either you're doing too much of this, or really we should see this, I think, you know, in the future, something like this in the future, I think we could try that.
You could still require them to fill out the application, shoot the application out to all of us for anything under $1,000, and
Yeah.
that way it covers you, gives you a little bit of everybody's seen it.
Wiggle room.
Yeah.
Give you the wiggle.
Yeah, I like that.
We'll make a motion for that.
Thank you.
Up to $1,000 that, we have a process in place that allows Rich to approve that. Which will include email input from committee members.
Motion and second. All those in favor? Motion passes.
See Joe now.
I like that. I think both of those will help enhance what we're trying to do.
Yes. Anything else for discussion items not on the agenda?
If we could, really quick, we have a community open house this Saturday from 9 to 11 here at the town office. I know it coincides with Orland River Days, but if you lived through the ice storm of '98 or had any family members who lived through the ice storm of '98, this discussion is going to be centered somewhat around that, we're trying to find a way with that grant monies available to the state to help the community, warming centers, cooling centers. How do we get communications out to the most vulnerable? So, you know, back in '98, I don't think cell phones were as high tech as they are today. The school has a great system in place that if there's a snow day, but the town doesn't have something like that, that maybe we can upgrade that system. So we're looking for the public's input. Refreshments will be provided. Like I said, it's 9 to 11 Saturday. So I just encourage everyone, if you have the opportunity, to come over and then go visit our friends in Orland at the River Day.
Where is it?
It's right here in the town council chambers. Regards of the VPI, I believe everyone should know at this point, and if not, I apologize. The 50-50 match for the project engineering is no longer a 50-50 match. It's now a 90-10. So that should save the town roughly $300,000 in that project. And we are awaiting final determination if we've been approved. We were further ahead than most communities. The two communities that were furthest ahead, Bucksport and Pittsfield. So
So that brings it back down to around $1 million.
yeah, if you're reading that figure to about under $1 million. So if they were, the public approved the 1.2, and where there were no connections to the waterfront from Main Street, that, you know, or some of the things that people feel may have been left off, there's that potential opportunity to make that happen. Since the public, the citizens voted up to, or not to exceed $1.2 million. And then I guess I got one last thing, a recreational asset that could have economic development impact as well. Dr. Tripp's predecessor had the opportunity to join me at one point down here when we didn't have a swimming pool and we were looking for different ideas, but Silver like to point, Mr. Peterson, who's in here, graciously, flew his drone for us, and we were there for over 2 hours, and he turned this into a quick 11-minute video for you of the point. So if you're not familiar, back in the day, this is where the local town's kids went sliding down onto Silver Lake. The council graciously reopened that up about 3 or 4 years ago. And this is the field, and the sliding hill is right down there. So if you have any questions, I'll take them afterwards. We had this done for the conservation committee, but I thought it was also, it's 84 acres of some prime real estate in the town. Better if you can swim in it.
Purpose of the video was to show the downed trees. The primary thing that Rich was concerned about.
Rather than
That's why we're not out there at this video.
Yeah, I think we're about to go up high now, but you get a good view of Lake Dixon. But you also get a whole big holistic view of the lake in the section here.
Those are all dead trees.
It's all town owned.
I'm sorry.
That's all town
That's
owned.
all town owned. Here's your sliding hill right there.
Yeah.
So you can see some volunteer opportunities. You can see the trail that we're walking on.
It's a beautiful lake.
It really is, and I was picking up litter when we were out there. What did I take? Like 3 cans, 2 bottles, and a Mylar balloon. And that's it. I mean, it was like, it's open to the public. was the Mylar balloon.
Cleaning it
I
up.
was working. I was working.
Cleaning the TikTok.
Was I supposed to check myself? So we're headed back to the opening. So we started at the hill. So this is a ways in. You drive by the boat launch, you drive by the canoe kayak launch. You go around then. There's the power lines and there's a dirt road with two boulders. That's how you access the property.
I thought they were gonna make a new boat launch over there.
I don't know what happened over there or even before my time, but it's we were talking about what could we do for recreation. Like I said, when the pool was down, there's so much ropes courses, outdoor survival stuff, science,
Yeah, no, it's beautiful.
volunteer hours for the kids at the school.
Have they done a water clarity again on the lake?
Last thing I knew was well water. Something came in with well water, but I don't know about the water clarity on the lake. It's
How much water is this?
like in mid-ocean. Right? Touch screen. 50 seconds.
I got a lot to say. I just
Oh,
waiting for it to be done.
yep. There's a good shot of the lake with the islands. But someone had told me when so that's the beginning. That's where you park. You come on in. Here comes the truck. That the field they were hopes to one day do field days again, and I guess back in the 70s or 80s they used to do in conjunction with the school. They used to do a winter carnival, and there was all events there, and then the school had
There's your
bands.
hill.
There's your slide, yeah.
Are you able to pull up that very last scene and stop it?
Where you go to?
Yeah, go a little bit further.
Yeah.
Right, go a little bit further. That's good, that's good.
There you go.
This area right in here, there was a, former, Mr. Cooper, former, fifth, sixth grade teacher.
Yeah, I remember. Yep.
Take the kids out every year and plant trees, Christmas trees. The idea was they would plant trees, I mean, he might have been first grade. By the time they got to be seniors, they'd be able to sell the Christmas trees. Well, it never happened. I mean, these are all overgrown fir now, but it was, so there's been ideas of stuff to go up there. You could do this same video on the town's Silver Lake property behind the town garage. Except it's even worse because of the blowdowns that was created with the housing development out there. When they cut that to make the housing development, I'm not against housing development, but I'm just saying it created a wind tunnel in there, and you had major even bigger blowdowns than where I'm at there. I was called last week by a forester, because, that's my background. I was a forester for a paper company here for years. My last job for a number of years was buying biomass, so I'm very familiar with going into things like this. There's no biomass plants anywhere anymore, so the chipping isn't what it used to be, but said volunteers, you can't do, you can't touch that with volunteers. You just, you can't. I mean, I've brought volunteers, through a restorative justice project out to the beyond the town garage, when there's blowdowns that go across trails. And it's an all day thing just to get the blowdowns across trails cleaned up. We had this dream of creating an area that clean up, and you just don't. I mean, you gotta have equipment to do that. And it's very important what kind of equipment does it. So, anyway, so I was contacted by a forester who evidently has been talking to some of the people in the town. I mean, I think he said he came to a town council meeting, but I don't know how far that went. He was going to meet with Linda Plurd last week. I don't know what became of that. I mean, he's got one idea. There's other ideas, but you need to have a well thought out thing that's going to involve people who have experience with this. You know, I'd volunteer to work on it when in the winter when I'm not having the idea, not doing the work. The idea, you know, you need to have, like I say, the right contractors in there. If that, and there may be money available through different programs to subsidize the project. You know, and then it's got to be vetted through the town, you know, with a plan. And is this what we want? You know, and people got to go out and look at sites that the work's been done on, and this is what could be created, and this is what could go wrong. You need to know both. And so I applaud you for bringing it to it, because I think, you know, between the other thing you're dealing with on both of those is the shoreline zoning issues and what you can do within 250 feet of the water. And both those properties have a lot of 250 feet of the water is going to take up a big percentage of what you got. So
Yeah, this video is actually because Jake did come to the council,
okay.
and then it was referred to the conservation committee, and I attended that meeting, and they hadn't been down to this area, and they voted against Jake's proposal. So I suggested that I could find someone to fly a drone, and we could bring it back and they could watch the video. So prior to the meeting this month, Linda had a conversation with Jake, and I showed them the video, and they looked at it, and their concern is what they're looking at more is the dead trees and the blowdowns, but of course there's no money in that for a forester, so they would have to get and correct me if I'm speaking on turn, but they would need some good money-making trees, strong, that they could use for byproduct or
you can only make money on, I mean, in a day when there were biomass plants, you can go in and you have an operation like that, and it's marginal, but you can make some money. I mean, they did it down in Castine when they had that microburst, and I forget the forest down there, but you know, you want to talk about blowdown? I mean, it made this look like a park right now. What that used to look like when it logged it. Wow. But it was all just. But those were recently felled trees, so you can get some product out of them. These are all dead, you know, and the only thing you can do is chip them up for biomass, and I don't know where there's a biomass plant anymore. But doesn't mean that there's different alternatives. And, but yeah, I think Jake's idea may be a viable one, but his contractors have the cut the length processor equipment, which is in the industry that's the lowest impact equipment you can have, but it doesn't do much with dead wood. You got to have some kind of chipping operation to do something with dead wood, even if you're just chipping it chipping in for trails, you know,
Trails, yeah.
whatever. But it's not gonna be a money-making operation out there for anybody. It's gonna be, so you're gonna have to look for grants somehow to make it happen.
Very good, thank you.
Yep.
That's good to know.
That was good. Thank you. Yep.
Thank you for flying the drone.
Oh, you're welcome.
Not a lot of people know about this, but it is a good piece of land and
It is.
Item 5, schedule next meeting. How do you want to do that? 'Cause it's Columbus Day. The second. Or the-
I don't have anything like
Let's skip the one.
pressing, so if everyone's okay, if those two come through, I can send those applications to you and check to make sure that we think about it right.
Mine would be less than $1,000.
Yeah, and the magician will be less than 1,000 as well. So, yeah, we can do that and we can skip October.
Perfect.
Okay.
You're awesome.
Couldn't have done this week. Paul could have gone to Florida.
Your November
No, we
meeting's gonna
gotta-
be on a holiday. too.
November's gonna be, oh, yes,
Veterans Day.
Veterans Day, and then there's an election, yeah.
It's a freaking great holiday.
That is a fantastic
No,
holiday.
we're here at like 5:30 Thursday night.
Oh, that's right, yeah, we have
We got a big one.
So what do you want to try to put for
Well,
next
if you
meeting?
do the 18th, that I believe is, it is the week before Thanksgiving. I'm just trying to be cognizant of the holidays and everybody's schedule. Why don't we say this, we'll skip October, and if something comes up, I'll send
schedule
something
meeting.
out, we'll schedule something in November, and
Okay.
just realizing that it won't be the normal day.
Yep.
But at
That's
some
fine.
point in the new year, I would like the committee to hear a presentation on land banks.
Okay.
There's some experts in the field who I think that's viable economic development.
Okay. Yep.
And I'll look to do that in the new year
We receive.
when we receive the council.
Yep. Okay.
Great idea.
Paul likes that.
Super.
Item 6.
Motion. Oh. Yep. I'd make sure I was on the right one.
All right, motion second. All those in favor? Meeting adjourned.